Well, after my Subnautica review, I want to take another look at a game I have already given my opinions on and give it a fresh coat of paint. If you already couldn't tell by the title, tonight I'll be taking a second look at Gear Rising Revengance, and I'll be using the PlayStation 3 version for this re-review. Roll the intro! Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new re-review where I take a second look at a game and give it a fresh coat of paint. Tonight's subject is Gear Rising Revengance. Gear Rising is a 3D action hack and slash game developed by Platinum Games and published by Konami. It was released in February of 2013 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. Now much like with Bayonetta, I would also like to go over the history of MGR. Now originally Rising started development back in 2008 after the release of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Now with the legendary Mad Lad himself, Hideo Kojima, wanted to give his younger staff at Kojima Productions the task of making their own Metal Gear game, all while Kojima himself worked on other titles in the series. This could be seen as a way for the staff to build up their own skills for when they eventually take over for him. But working on another numbered entry is still a very daunting task, especially what happened during Metal Gear Solid 4. So of course the devs started developing a game called Metal Gear Solid Rising, which is said to be focusing on Raiden in between the events of Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty up to the events of Guns of the Patriots. Now instead of focusing on stealth, Rising is supposed to focus on Raiden's skill with a sword, ditching tactical espionage action with lightning bolt action. The biggest concept that you will be given is the freedom to cut anything, and I mean anything, from soldiers to even Metal Gear units to the entire world around you. Now of course there were some road bumps, such as the main game design philosophy the Metal Gear series is known for, and due to the lack of a leader on the team, and the person Kojima left in charge was a background artist. And with Kojima himself working on Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and later Ground Zeroes, there's basically no way to approach this problem. And with Kojima and Peace Walker, they teased their next upcoming project before announcing Metal Gear Solid Rising at Microsoft's E3 press conference, and all that was shown was a debut trailer showing Raiden ripping and tearing robotic spines open. Now, of course, the biggest problem for the team working on Rising was trying to implement stealth into this game. To put short, they were aiming for a balance of stealth as well as hack and slash action. Simply put, the team was in a never-ending cycle, constantly hitting the same roadblocks over and over. Now, after the launch of Peace Walker on the PSP, Kojima had all but cancelled Rising, since he still saw potential in the project, and Kojima decided to give the project to another studio who could do ninja action with an emphasis on combat. Enter the good people at Platinum Games. Now, here's a bit of trivia. When Kojima requested Platinum to work on Rising, the folks at Platinum honestly thought he was joking. Though after being given what the Kojima production team have been working on, within a few months, Platinum returned with an alpha build, and Kojima Productions basically gave Platinum the opportunity of full development, even changing the story having it take place after Guns of the Patriots, thus making it the latest in the timeline. So they basically have free range as well as creative freedom, but after the announcement, some Metal Gear fans were incredibly irritated at the concept. But keep in mind, it wasn't just Platinum doing this. Kojima Productions also had some involvement in this, with Koji Pro staying true to Metal Gear while Platinum worked on the action. In the end, here we have Metal Gear Rising Revengance. So here's the question. Is this game any good, and is it something I could recommend to you? Let's find out. So the plot of Revengeance takes place in the year 2018, 4 years after the events of MGS4 Guns of the Patriots. We open up in Africa of all places, and with Raiden, still being voiced by Quentin Flint, along with the African Prime Minister. All of a sudden, bad cyborgs show up in the form of Jetstream Samuel Rodriguez, being voiced by Philip Anthony Rodriguez, and Sundowner, who is voiced by Crispin Freeman? Okay, first it was Hellsing, twice, then Castlevania, twice, Kingdom Hearts 2, Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7, God of War 3, and now here. Anyways, Sundowner and Sam take the Prime Minister and send out a fucking Metal Gear Ray unit. This is our first boss, and we also get a taste of this game's OST with the now iconic Rules of Nature. We split the Metal Gear Ray unit and chase down Sundowner and Sam, with Sundowner killing the Prime Minister, and we're left to deal with Sam. After getting an arm cut off as well as Sam cutting Raiden's eye, we get a new cyborg body, and we are now on the hunt for Desperado, the organization that Sundowner and Sam belong to. And from there until our final encounter with Sam, the story kinda takes a back seat. I'm not joking here. For the rest of the chapters, it's just begin the mission, slice and dice some cyborgs, and kill the boss at the end. The only other boss with any significance is Monsoon, mostly because this is where Raiden gets his own version of Devil Trigger and Umbran Climax, Ripper Mode. After doing some more missions, and as we are on our way to come face to face with the head of Desperado, we face off against Sam and beat him this time, after which we then head to Pakistan, slice some more cyborgs and face off against Metal Gear Excelsis, which we then fucking German suplex and slice with its own arm. And it's here we are properly introduced to Senator Stephen Armstrong, voiced by Alistair Duncan. The first 2 rounds are of course pre-scripted, so we can't win. Trust me, I tried numerous times. After Armstrong revealed the thing that's preventing us from doing any real damage to him were
nanomachines, son.
What he said. We then get Sam's high-frequency Muramasa blade, and that really puts the hurt on him. After ripping his heart out, we see Raiden getting ambushed, possibly setting up the sequel that will most likely never come to light or see the light of day, period. Thus ending Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. And that's the story of Metal Gear Rising. Overall, while it is frantic and the story kinda takes a back seat after the prologue and doesn't pick up until the final showdown with Sam and the fight against Metal Gear Excelsis, the story is quite easy to digest. But with the story out of the way, let's talk about gameplay. Gameplay of Rising is your standard hack and slash. We have your standard light and heavy attacks as well as some sweet combos we can do, but exclusive to Rising is Blade Mode. Blade Mode allows time to slow down and make it so you can cut through your enemies and tear out their spines, which refills your Blade Mode bar as well as your health. And I'm not kidding, it fills up both back to 100%, meaning as long as you play carefully and not go crazy like I bet some people would do, Raiden is basically unkillable. Let's move on to parrying. Rising doesn't have what I call a traditional block slash parry button. Instead, you will have to flick the left analog stick into the direction of your enemy, followed by the light attack button, which if you're playing the PlayStation 3 version is square. It can be quite tricky to get used to, but when you get into the zone, you basically feel like an absolute god! Oh yeah, there's also DLC to Rising, in the form of both the Jetstream Sam and Blade Wolf DLC. Sam's DLC takes place before the main events of Rising, while Blade Wolf's DLC takes place before his encounter with Raiden in the main game. Now Sam's gameplay is pretty good, for when he has a double jump, which instantly makes him better than Raiden in every way, shape, and form, as well as some pretty neat charge-up attacks, while Blade Wolf's gameplay has a more emphasis on the traditional stealth the Metal Gear Solid series is more famous for. Now of course, this being a 2013 game, there's forced walking segments, but thankfully we can just mash triangle to skip the dialogue so we could get back into the action. Visually, I say this held up pretty great. Rising was made using both the Havoc graphical engine as well as Platinum Games' in-house engine, and it shows. Solid 60 FPS all the way through without a single graphical hiccup in sight. In terms of OST, I absolutely love it! Rules of Nature, I'm my own master now, it has to be this way, and the only thing I know for real. fuck it. The entire OST is fucking awesome, and it's my second favorite action game OST, right next to Devil May Cry 5, and it's my third favorite with the Ratchet & Clank series of OST, taking the #1 spot. To make Rising's OST even more badass than I've already described it, it comes from the vocals, now primarily during the boss fight, since that's where they shine the most. You see, during the first few parts of the boss fight, it's mainly instrumental, but when you hit the climax of the boss fight, that's where the vocals kick in, and we have what makes these boss fights fucking awesome, especially Metal Gear Ray, just for rules of nature alone. Now, let's recap. The story is pretty good, gameplay is fast, frantic, and fun, visually it holds up pretty great, and OST is simply amazing. Here are my closing thoughts. Overall, I say Metal Gear Rising Revengance. I seriously need to look up if that's even a real word. Huh, apparently it is. Anyways, Rising Revengance is still a pretty great hack and slash game, even if you don't know what the heck is going on without prior knowledge of the other Metal Gear games. This may be one of Platinum's more unforgiving games to newcomers, but goddamn, once you master it, you effectively made this game your bitch! Overall, Metal Gear Rising Revengance gets a 9.5 out of 10. If the game didn't have forced walking segments, then I will be giving this a perfect 10. Call it a petty nitpick, but forced walking segments aren't good in a video game, especially an action game like Rising. But now I want to know from you all. Did you play MGR? Did you enjoy it? And is this something you could recommend to a friend? Leave your answers in the comments below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And while you're here, follow me on my social medias. Links are down below as always. While you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified when I make a new video. I've been Horror Kid, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.